The PC community has spoken and the Steam reviews are in for Borderlands 4. It's not looking good. However, this is a modern day gaming classic. Monster Hunter World fans, my more typical viewers, will know about this all too well. Right, gameplay in this video will be from the first couple hours of gameplay, so no spoilers. Now, we will get into why this game has been review bombed to all hell. However, let me go over my first impressions for the game so far, just to paint a bit of context and a more fair picture for the game itself, before credibility gets stripped away from it later on. So Borderlands 3 did a lot of things wrong, but it did get the gameplay right, at least under my personal impressions and standards. Borderlands 4 said, yeah, we'll take that and let's make it about, 50 times better. Now don't get me wrong, I love the classic Borderlands combat style, mainly talking about number 2. But with Borderlands 4 we introduce a whole new range of motions. We get the classic sliding that we had in Borderlands 3, but now we can mesh various different things like double jumping, gliding, grapple hooking, a double jump into a grapple, into a jump, into a land, into a slide, a jump into a grapple to grab an item, throw item, hover, shoot round, kill another guy. There's so many different ways you can maneuver around, the combat situations you find yourself in. And for me, that just makes the gameplay way more engaging. And don't get me wrong, you don't have to do that if you're the type of player that likes to take a Jacob sniper rifle, hide behind some cover or on a ledge somewhere and take the heads off everyone. You can absolutely do that, nothing's changed. Although when it gets into boss encounters, again, no spoilers just yet, but some of them you can see kind of do ask the player to utilise the movement we now have been given. And of course, a couple of things pair alongside this movement when it comes to gameplay, including the gun variety. Naturally, this is a staple of the Borderlands franchise, getting cool wacky guns that have various different elements, the ability to switch between different firing modes, with some cases completely changing how your particular gun plays, different various elements and making sure that you take out the right element for the right job. Whip out your shock LMG when you come across an enemy with a shield, then swap back into your corrosive weapon to finish the armor off. Heavy ordnance such as rocket launchers and miniguns now taking your grenade slot, so rather than taking a dedicated weapon slot just for you to fire 2 shots and it being out of ammo, now they have this more fluent cooldown which emphasises your primary gunplay, and these one-off big moments of damage fit nicely into the grenade cooldown slot. And I couldn't talk about this whole section without mentioning the Vault Hunter, aka the character you play in the game. Now out of the 4 options, of course I chose the Goth Girl. I promise I did it for gameplay reasons. But yeah, I can't talk on the other 3 so far, but what I will say is Vex, the Siren class, is ridiculously fun. I've opted to go for the Shadow Ranger build, where I'm primarily focusing on gun damage and using the sniper ghost summons. It's so sick just running around, spawning one sniper in a location, fighting your way through to the other side of the arena, putting a second one down, and then you kind of have this triangulated position, almost like a firing range. It's really sick, and from looking down my skill tree I can see that it's going to get even more hectic. And again, you just have to give props where props is due, 3 different ultimates, or essentially 3 different playstyles at a core level, and being able to modify each one to kind of mesh with your playstyle or a specific ideal you have, it just gives way more purpose to build variety. And don't get me wrong, there's always going to be an established meta, which in the coming days I'm sure we'll see that. But it's a Borderlands game, you don't need to follow a meta remotely. So experiment, build your character in a unique way, whatever you feel best fit. And it's too early to say, but Vex might be my favourite Vault Hunter. Well, speaking on gameplay explicitly so far, I do plan on covering every single one of the Vault Hunters, so let me know in the comment section if you would be interested in, kind of like a spotlight video on each of the 4. Now, Borderlands 4 also took a unique direction to the series, which is the open world map. Now, Borderlands 3 took a step further from what we'd previously seen to create these larger scale maps, but they were still individual maps. We would travel from planet to planet to get these different biomes, all filled with their own unique challenges and activities. Very similar to what Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel were, just on a bigger scale. But now, as all modern games must do, we are now open world. But don't roll your eyes just yet, it actually works very well, and that's because the individual level design that's placed within the open world map just functions great. You'll be on your vehicle, which you can summon at a moment's notice by the way, travelling thousands of meters to your next destination, and you think to yourself, okay, here we go again, another open world running simulator. But every single point of interest almost is its own unique Borderlands 2 individual level just placed within this big world. And that is how an open world game should be, so I'm not singing praises, I'm not glazing too hard there. Just know, if you are the kind of player that hears open world and immediately thinks, Ubisoft game, the individual levels or locations do have that classic Borderlands feel. Once you get to them, they're almost isolated from the rest of the world and whatever's going on, and they have a more linear playstyle. It could be a personal preference, you either love it or hate it. So far, for me, it seems to be great, but there is still a lot of the map to explore, so I will reserve full judgment for now. And I touched on earlier that Borderlands 3, had different problems, but the gameplay was great. Well, one of those problems was the story and annoying dialogue. Straight up, you couldn't go 10 minutes in that game without rolling your eyes. Borderlands 4 though, so far, I am happy to report, a lot of the cringe has been removed. It feels way more close to what Borderlands 2 was in terms of narrative, conversations and character dialogue. I've had a few little chuckles here and there, there's a few funny jokes. I did a whole side mission revolving around a flat earther. I won't say much more so you can experience it yourself, but that's the kind of thing to expect. However, as positive as all of this is, it all goes out the window. It goes straight into the bin because of a classic modern day PC gaming classic that within the past 2-3 years, it feels like every single game goes through this test and trial. And if they fail this test, it's GG for the rest of the game's career. And that is performance. Like 90% of the Steam reviews that are negative are purely on the basis of performance. Now, I'm not going to say people are wrong for reviewing the game negative, for that reason. At the end of the day, if the game is not running properly on rigs that should be able to handle it, there is no defense for that. All those positives I listed don't matter if a player cannot play the game to begin with. How is someone going to be able to experience the beautiful combat in this game if they cannot get past the start menu? And ultimately, that is the game's biggest detriment right now. I personally have experienced very minor performance issues. I'm talking maybe once every 30 minutes I'll get a frame drop. It will last 2 seconds and it's done. But I also have a very high-end rig. I'm not even playing on maxed out settings. And to be honest, I fear that if I do crank them up to that second level, even my rig won't be able to handle, maxed out settings. Now, this is the exact same issue that happened to Monster Hunter Wilds earlier this year. And even now to this day, as of recording, that game is still suffering from the negative public perception that performance has caused. And to be fair, the performance in Wilds is still not fixed for many people, which doesn't help. So hopefully Borderlands 4 will not remain in the state it's currently in, just so that the PC community can explore the game for what it is. But from what I've seen in recent years, is it GG already? I mean, PC players are very, very passionate about this sort of thing. They don't like to move on, and they will always remember. If a game's launch is poor, that's sort of what the game's going to get remembered for. And it doesn't matter what new updates the game has, how many patches, it doesn't matter if everything is completely fixed. People will still always ask the question of, is the game still broken? It's a damn shame, but hey, at the end of the day, it's a problem that needs to be fixed. So many games are releasing in these, I don't want to say unfinished states, but I suppose it is what it is. They kind of are in an unfinished state. And whether or not it is the developer's lack of due diligence, or if it is the higher ups, the executives forcing a specific release date no matter what, who knows? From what I can see, console players seem to be relatively happy with how the game's going so far. So it likely is purely a PC issue. But I don't know, let me know your experience if you're a console player down below. But yeah, that's going to do it for about now. I mean, again, I've been really enjoying my time with the game so far and I don't have issues. So I'm going to continue playing. If you would like more Borderlands 4 content on the channel, please make sure to let me know in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching.